Welcome back to Fitness the Final Call Out. This is going to be episode number 2. I am Allison Kramer. I'm a 4-time pro fitness champion and I'm currently preparing for my 4th Olympia. And we have my co-host, Andrea Glass.
I am Andrea Glass, a three-time fitness champion for my second Fitness Olympia. And we have a special guest, Dr. Abby Bolton.
Hello, I'm Abby Bolton. I'm a one-time fitness pro champion, and I'm competing next weekend.
Exciting.
4 days out.
Something show like we're going to cover today is the Adela Garcia Classic. It happened, was it a week and a half ago now, beginning of June in Austin, Texas. Adela Garcia is the 8-time pro fitness champion at the Olympia. So she has a NPC show and natural show and also the pro fitness division that she does offer. So we will get started today and just go over prejudging and finals and give you guys our opinions.
Okay, so I guess we can start with prejudging. So prejudging this show, there were 8 of us, and I'm going to try to remember the lineup in alphabetical orders. First was Dr. Abby. And then who was number 2? Why can't I do any alpha? Anya. Anya was number 2. And then there was me, Andrea Glass. And then after me, I want to say was
Sammy.
I should have the list in front of me. Oh, Sammy. Okay, Sammy was her pro debut. And then we also had Chrissy on pro debut. And then we had Amber Sten. And then Annalise Bart was the 8. So out of the 8 of us, 6 of us just competed at Legion Sports Fest together. So this show a little bit different. We do a second call. We had 8 of us on the line. We did our comparisons and they pulled out the top 4. So the top 4 at this one was Amber and Andrea, who were the top 2 at Legion. And they also had me and Courtney. So we did the round quarters and I think they were moving people around a lot. So what I really liked about the show is I feel like it got a lot of stage time. And it felt like, I always prefer to feel like the judging is fair, but it felt like they were really trying to make sure every single comparison that they thought they need to see, they saw it. Okay, you next to you. Oh, you next to you. Oh, you guys releases. They did so many rounds of quarters. Honestly, by the end of it, my feet were so numb. But I was so glad to be able to be on stage that long because I feel like at the end of it, I was like, okay, yes, we earned this spot, right? So top 4, me in physique, me, Courtney, Amber, and Anya. I feel like I kind of knew, at least, but I felt like coming in, Amber and Anya, obviously, were just the top 2 at Legion, and I feel like there was a significant gap between those 2 and then next 2. I'm so sorry. I'm a mom. Between those 2 and then the next 2, which were me and Courtney. I feel like Courtney made a jump from Legion. Were you higher than her at Legion?
Abby? I was not tighter.
I can't remember.
I tightened up for Adela's. But I think that just might be the judge's preference on look. Like maybe at that so I feel like Legions, they really wanted like tight but nice shape.
Shape.
Not looking at as much size. I feel like Courtney was rewarded a bit better at Adela's.
Yeah, I think so too. I actually thinking that maybe she was going to rank higher than 2. I think she might make a couple of jumps. Flex the dog. I thought he might make a couple jumps. I felt like, okay, I feel like I hold my own in this place spot. But again, we've talked about it on our previous rep. There's always a level of preference. So are they going to prioritize shape? Are they prioritize ice condition, whatever? So there was a point during a single quarter that I think Amber was a solid one. Solid. She removed from center. But there was, Abby, Anya, Amber did the quarters and switched on with Courtney. And then Courtney and Amber, they switched me back. And then when they brought us out, then me and Amber splitting center and they switched. It was like, I didn't know if they were just trying to see or do we want to put 2. I know that I think she looked, her physique in general was just as good as it was at Legion. I do know that she's struggling to hold back pose. Just from what she said and what Sarah had mentioned, she was struggling to hold her back pose. Oh, am I going to rank a little bit higher? So not so you guys so happy. I feel like that was good. We got a lot of rounds. We got sets. And I feel like I said, I came on stage feeling like I feel like everybody felt like this was a real prejudging. I don't know how y'all, but I feel like every single person, no matter if they were splitting center in the first call out, or if they were all the way on out in the second call out, I feel like all of felt really good about how prejudging went, which I think is all just good. Everyone was out there bad. They all felt like, okay, I feel like that was exactly what I wanted to do, no matter what the rank was. That's just, like I said, my experience from first call out. I think Amber looked amazing as usual. Anya, like I said, looked, in my opinion, same as she did at Legion, but her thing maybe was a little bit different. I think that I let her, and I think Courtney looked better. Courtney posing was significantly better at this show. Um, and so I guess I'll let you take this all out, Abby, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's really good to be judged for that long too, because it also shows whether you've put the work in to condition yourself to hold the poses, that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. Because that was one comment one of the judges made backstage was not like naming names, but like they noticed like in the first call out, one of the like girls started to lose their core a little bit. And it's like, okay, like that's starting
Mm-hmm.
to like kind of differentiate between first, second, third, and then fourth. So I think it's really good that they judged us that long. And I agree with you. I kind of fake like I agreed with the top four. I thought they judged really well.
I'm going on
Oh
pictures
my
here.
daughter.
They didn't have a pay-per-view. And it does seem pretty accurate from, my perception. I think Anya, her posing a little bit would give her, if she brought her wrists in, some on her posing, she would actually create a little bit better shape. You can see in a lot of the posing, her wrists are wider than her shoulders. So she loses a little bit of that hourglass. And it's very, I mean, I do it too sometimes where it's just like that floating arm syndrome. But in photos, like in that lineup, especially in first call out, I noticed she's really wide with her arms, then Courtney's really narrow with her arms, and they're right next to each other. So it almost looks like if they could find a middle ground in between, they would both accentuate their shape a little bit more. Just because, especially in our division, when you're trying to create shape and it's not your natural structure, posing goes such a long way.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, I know that was something Courtney and I talked about, and she was like, I feel like I should have ranked higher. And I was very transparent with her. I'm like, got to get the posing together because they can't just look at our Instagram posts or they can't look at our check-in photos. Can only look at exactly what we put on stage at that exact moment. And if that's what they see, then that's what they see. So yeah, I think just all little tweaks. I pose with Sydney. It's a nightmare every time. I hate it every time because she worked me to the bone. And to your Abby, we do posing conditioning, and I'm dripping sweat by the end of 5 minutes of quarter turns, literally 5 minutes. And she's just like, hold, hold, hold. And I'm like, I can't hold anymore. But I mean, it really makes a difference. And like you said, when it's close, those little things are going to make a difference. But I do think that everyone had a great showing. I loved to see the pro debut girls. Like, shout out to
Yeah.
Sammy and Chrissy for getting on stage so soon after turning pro. Within a year, for Chrissy, within a few months, she turned pro at the Arnold. But for Sammy, she turned pro at North American, so less than a year. And I think they both did great holding their own. Like, obviously, I know they both want, you always do, you want to win. Everybody wants to win, right? So I do think that Sammy was like 1% disappointed, but that's just the name of the game. You get on stage and then you're like, oh, okay, I can do a little bit more. Now I see what other level looks like. So I just that was a really good experience, like just being able to see that because they're so sweet. Like, oh my gosh, I've always looked up to these girls and now on stage with them. That's how I felt at the Arnold Tiffany Chandler crying stage. I was like, so that's really cool. But that was just like an experience that, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing Sammy again on stage. Because that girl has a shape on her, a shape and a back. I don't know. I
Age.
mentioned in the last one, I'm like, that back is insane. It's young. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what they bring. Obviously, I think them could have been tighter.
Mhm.
Um, I just think you have to do a pro debut to realize what what conditioning is, right? Like at the amateur level, your physique barely even matters if there's enough competitors for your physique literally to even matter. So I think both of them get on a pro stage and seeing what high level conditioning actually looks like in real life. I think in future competitions, they're obviously just going to continue to get better and showing up a little tighter, a little bit tighter, tighter. That would be my main thing for them specifically.
Yeah, I think when I look at second call out too, it's just you can kind of tell. I mean, it's very normal in general with women, like the predisposition to hold body fat in the lower half of your body, and it's not easy to lean out. Sometimes it's the front of your legs, sometimes it's the back of your legs. I, for some reason, don't have that problem, but I won't lean out on my stomach until I'm like 2 weeks out. But
Right.
but still, like even looking at second call out, like all of them have like such, decent shape, like in the sense of like, just getting a little bit more condition is just going to accentuate everyone's shape. Like, it's
Hmm.
no one's at that point of no return of like everyone has a waistline, everyone has, some lats to go with their, everything. It's just kind of just, especially with the newer pros and, Annalise hasn't competed in a while of just like kind of getting back up there and getting the ring rust off and just coming in
Hmm.
a little more conditioned.
Let's talk routines again.
Jeans. Jeans is my favorite. So first was
Abby, Dr. Abby.
Dr. Abby. I love it.
I'm gonna call you Dr. Abby. That's it. You've been able for ages.
If I'm ever
You've
at a
earned
show,
it.
I'm going to tell the MC it's Dr.
They introduced her as Dr. Abby. I was like, this is lit.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So you were
Okay. Do you
able
want to
to
take Abby?
see the recording of your routine. So I got to watch that, which was super nice because I didn't get to watch all the routines, just with there not being a pay-per-view. And just from like week to week, like I noticed such an improvement in like the performance aspect of your routine. Like you have so many good skills. And I think I had mentioned it like when we talked about Legion, just sometimes it's like the buildup of moments and sometimes, and that for that piece was like missing for me at Legion of like you were doing a lot of hard things, but it's almost like they couldn't fully take it in. But then just seeing the change in like a week's time to a completely new routine, it just seemed like you were able to engage a lot more and still, hit a lot of your same skills. It seemed like it was just more you in the sense of like you got more into it versus what you did at Legions. And that's just, for me watching as a consumer, even for me, just like it seemed like much more like seeing you in your element.
Yeah, and that's how it felt too, for sure.
And you,
I think that I texted Allison actually. I'm pretty sure. I sent Allison a text message and Abby is lit. New routine or something like that. I really think that I said Abby is lit. I remember I watching that as soon as I saw your new costume and I was like, oh, this isn't the same. Like, whatever. I didn't really think anything of it. And then I like that first feel it come. And I said, oh, she's doing a different routine. And I think I think that was a smart choice on your part because like Allison said, you're never saying skills. You're one of the more, I feel like one of the people with the biggest skill repertoire in the division, but that specific routine choreography physicality I like was so more powerful than the Legion routine. Legion routine was good. I don't think you've ever done a bad routine, right? Like I was like, oh, okay, that's good. It's normal. Abby, this
There
is
was
exactly what
something,
I expect from
yeah.
Abby. The good skills, like something a little tricky. I feel like you always do some, it was Rose or the next step. There's always thing. It was for me felt very standard, predictable Abby. And I feel like at Adela, even though it was a very similar in skill wise routine, but I just like the perform. I was like, oh, Abby's in there. Like that was honestly one of my favorite scenes I've seen you. So kudos to you because I feel like we mentioned, the skills are the skills, but it has to be a performance that we want to see again. And I feel like you connect with the crowd
Yeah.
in a way that said, yeah, we want to see this routine again. So I think that was a really good change for you to hear that piece of it out. Because like I said, you're never missing skills. It's about the moment. I feel like we got those from you.
Yeah, and
At a,
engaging the audience and keeping them involved. And that's why I felt
yeah.
I think it was the Wednesday after, like it was literally 3 days out from Adela's. I was doing my cardio and I was watching my routine over and over again. And I was like, something is missing. This doesn't feel like I'm just not captivated by it. Like it's my own routine. And I'm like, I don't really like, there's nothing wow about it.
Hmm.
So that's why I was like, you know what? I have my spare costume in my suitcase. I just have to hunt down a sword and well, I literally I got to Austin and I Ubered everywhere. I think it was the Thursday. Ubered everywhere. Nowhere had swords. That was why my sword was like the cheesiest. It was like a
That
foam.
like,
Yeah.
I love that.
That was the only thing I could find. But we have a better
I love
sword
that.
for body B1. So it'll be a lot better.
Good. I love that. Good. Good. Okay, let's see.
and
Anya.
Anya. You want to start with Anya, Abby?
Sure. I love this routine. Like this is probably my favorite routine I've ever seen her do. Difficulty like she's got a good like range of like she's got some good strength skills. I feel like her power's improved. It's her flexibility that really stands out. And I think that's why her routines are so stand out to me because she does things that nobody else can do and
Yeah.
does it in such a like fluid, she gets right into the performance and everything is connected well and it just engages you the whole time. So I really, really love this routine this year by her.
Yeah, we talked about it last week a little bit, just lesions. And I think the word Andrea used was command. Like she's really stepped into a performance in the sense of she's not just on the stage doing a routine, like checking the boxes, like she's commanding a performance. And like she really has tapped into, I know she works with Oksana for choreography. She's tapped into what Oksana is really good at. Oksana had, good skills across the board, but there was never really like one thing that like, you know, hand balancing or tumbling. There was never like one thing, you do a little bit of everything, but she knew so well how to piece it together and command a performance and an audience. And, a lot of times she did, themes and she was able to get into them. And I feel like that's definitely translating, that's Anya's style as well. So they're definitely a good match. Her flexibility is out of this world. But it is nice to just see her still trying to like level up and like learn tumbling and like learn a back handspring and like incorporate other things. But I really do enjoy this performance. It's not my personal style, like, mine's like really high energy, not nonstop, that kind of stuff. But I still really enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the exact same. I feel like I don't remember, oh, because I was next, but at Legion I was next. I was like not paying attention. Right at this show, I was just there watching, and I was like, "Wow, it's a great routine." Because at that point, I don't even believe in replay with. So I had her routine, but I had really watched it, and so this was my first like really act watching it. And yeah, I agree. I was like, "Oh wow, this is good." It was honestly there were a lot more skills than I realized. I think that maybe at Legion maybe I just thought it was more performance and less skills. I mean, we're all trying to balance, but I feel like I was watching and I was like, oh, she's like actually kind of doing some stuff in this, right? Like obviously I knew some of the skills that she did, but I feel like I appreciate it more this last show just because I actually watched it. But yeah, I think every performance for her is just going to get better and better just as she builds confidence because, she had a short season last year, right? She only did the one show and then she got injured.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think just every performance is going to get a little better just as she builds confidence and get momentum. I mean, this is two tops for her in a row.
Yeah.
After never previously placing in the top three. So, I'm excited to see what 1% more confidence brings. And according to Instagram, she might be adding another new skill in this weekend. So I'm excited to see what, small changes or improvements she made to her routines.
Yeah. And then next, Mrs. Glass. I
Mrs. Glass.
I got to see your routine. Obviously, I've seen it kind of come to fruition from the beginning. I know we had just talked briefly after you performed, and you kind of, were like, it wasn't what I wanted it to be, still solid. Like Sarah had texted me, like solid routine, great energy. Like only difference, like from her perspective, was like you didn't do your full, you just did your, tuck.
Yeah.
But I know you had kind of said like you had some bobbles or things that just didn't go your way. But even still watching it back, like you still have executed the routine very clean. But I know what you mean is like when you practice something perfectly and then it doesn't exactly translate, like you feel it so much bigger than it looks.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still
Yeah.
but so like I understand like the competitor side of you, but then like as a viewer, I'm like, okay, this still looks very good.
I I have since watched it several times and I've recalibrated. I still, honestly, I'm still like that routine was a wild, crazy show. But also because you said not only is it like okay, like my hand wobbling, right? But so the crowd is like 1, 2, 1, 2. But in my mind, it's like 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh shit, fall. Okay, push through your oh my gosh, okay, hold it, just okay, we did. Okay, now catch your because you just had to for that for 30 seconds when you normally just get like it was just in my mind, I was just like, this is I was spiraling, truly spiraling. And actually I like high heels for a second my straddle, then I was just like, oh my god, this is in the video, you barely even see it. It was just like boop boop. But of course, in my stage shots, literally me in a straddle with my heel on the floor, and I'm like,
Oh,
but
you gotta hate that.
I will say, even though at first pretty much until the pass, I was planning to do full until I crashed in the banner. I was planning to do the full, like just I felt good, whatever. But up until that, it just felt like too much mentally, like I was having to fight out every skill. But I will say that I said to myself, Andrea fit. Like I said it out on stage. And then after that, I just focused on like, you have to turn the page. You have to turn the page. And I was like, the rest of it, the best that you can probably make it. I will say, I do like after that first part of it, I felt like it was really good. And I thought I was having fun. That in the crowd was really good.
It was.
Like, obviously, we had all of our fitness people in the crowd, but I just, in general, the crowd at that show was very loud. Like, they were very responsive. So it was very easy to fix it. And I honestly think that's why the bus from Jin to Adela, one, we had another week under our belt. I think we just also had a better crowd. And that's why I think a lot of us had better performances, even though like my skills weren't better. I do feel like like how much fun I had performing was better. But yeah, it definitely wasn't as bad as I thought it was. But in my mind, you practice it sometimes, so like this is so good, and you mess up and you're like, this sucks. But I was happy with how the rest of it went, and obviously just for myself, looking forward, just need to fine tune obvious consistency of some of those so that I don't have to stress about them on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite routine I've ever seen you do. I think it captivates right from the beginning. The music, like the facial expressions, like it draws the crowd in and like you stay involved, like the crowd stays involved throughout the whole routine. Like you don't get, there's some routines that I'll watch and it's like it starts out great and then you kind of get like lost or like
You
bored,
lose it.
but like you kind of get lost in the routine and like you hold that throughout. So I think that's like it makes the routine really strong. Obviously, your skills are great too, but like the way you've pieced it all together, it's very strategic and it's a way that just like makes your skills stand out and tells the story. And it's just obviously your execution is great too, especially at Legions was like fire. But yeah.
I'm still riding the wave.
I bet.
Who's after me? Sammy?
Yes.
Was
And that,
Sammy after me? Yes. Baby
Sammy,
Sammy. I was really impressed with Sammy. She has a lot of high level skills.
mhm.
Now I did not necessarily expect her to have a, and this isn't personal to Sammy. This is actually like every debut. I think that probably every pro debut is going to have probably a slower, not quite cohesive style routine, right? So, and I had seen her North Americans routine. Um, so I was just thinking like, okay, it's going to be like a moderate routine, but I will say her skills from her even from North Americans routine to this, they were one very much improved. But I think in general, the actual total performance was a lot better. She showed a lot of improvement for it being a pro debut. I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily show that and after they've done a pro debut and then they get feedback, they start competition, then they get there. I feel like she came in and had a strong showing. I mean, it's stiff competition, so you can't sit on ranked, right? But I feel like I understood her theme. There was, like you said, Abby, I do think we still need to work on the whole package of the route. I feel like, oh, it's really good. And then it's like, okay, okay, okay. Oh, that was good. It's like there was pieces of really good. What I would love to see from her is just a little bit more of kind of like what we were talking about in the last wrap up is her transitions between those big skills feeling more intentional. It kind of almost like
the
a
build
little
up.
bit of space filling. It almost felt like faith filling versus this is intentional choreography. Yes, I'm catching breath. Yes, it's transition, but it's still part of the show, right? It almost felt like this is the show. This is the show. This is the show. And then things I like trying to get myself get sometimes. So that I would love to see her skill. I mean, really good. These young girls, I can't keep up. These 20-year-olds. Her skills are really good. But yeah, I would like to just see a little bit more cohesive with the entire team from her.
Mhm. I think my first thought when I watched the routine was, holy crap, like I think she's going to be in top five with that routine. But I think it was me looking at the difficulty. Like I understand the
Mm-hmm.
difficulty of skills. I was like, that was impressive. Like she's got some really, really great skills in there. And then when I took a step back after and I was like, okay, I can kind of see, I think the judges wanted something a little bit more fast paced, energetic, but also the facial expression, like drawing that crowd in and connecting with the crowd. I feel like there's just a little bit of a disconnect there because she has a great theme,
Mm-hmm.
got great skills. Maybe the tempo was a little bit slower connecting pieces, or just maybe not as involved with the audience, and maybe that's what the judges lost. I don't know. I couldn't like obviously we're watching from like the side, so it's different when you get like a nice
Right.
head-on view, but I think her skill set is phenomenal. And as soon as I saw her perform, I was like, wow, that's a great pro debut. Like
Yeah.
great skills, great theme. I loved the routine.
I wish I saw.
I know. We got
I've
to get videos.
I know. I've seen her, post some stuff on Instagram and stuff, and I think she definitely has a good, solid skill set. I think it's just, sometimes just being young or being new into the sport, it's just getting the confidence and then, making sure that you're investing in people to help you and just kind of give you that mentorship in the sense of, making the jump from amateur to pro. It's very few and far between that people have early success, and a lot of times they flame out quick. I'm not saying everyone by any means, but sometimes when people do find that early success, they're not as diligent with trying to improve. Um, so I actually like really enjoy just seeing like when, pro debuts, like they go on a little bit of a run just to like get their feet wet and I love to see the
Hmm.
fact that like she's going to jump into Alabama and get another show under her belt because that's what really, the work that you do in your off season to improve
Hmm.
your physique and your skills, but the performance that just comes with stage time.
Yes. I actually told her, I'm not going to take all the credit. I'm going to take a little bit of the credit. After the show, I told her, I said, did you do Alabama? She's like, what? No, can't. Sammy, yes, you're dramatic. She's like, I can't fit my roots soon enough. I said, think you've reached your, I don't think you've reached your max. Like, I think you need to get on stage again. That's what I told her. I said, I just think you need to get on stage again. Like, try to fix what I told you to fix, but I think you need to get on stage because you have so much potential. You like to your point, and I'm like, you just need stage time and then go fix those things. But I think some of these things you will figure out just by performing again. So yeah, with a little bit of encouragement for a few people, I don't know what she's doing, if she's doing a total routine, if she's just fixing the things. I've just seen her post like fast turnaround time to work on this routine. I mean, I don't know like, what changes she's making. I am excited, like I said, to see the growth, and I am glad that she's getting on stage again. Just because, like you said, it's just stage time. Like a lot of things you just have to work out. You can't fix performance, confidence, not without performing. You know what I mean?
And I love telling newbies that get like disheartened, like, "Oh, I didn't get top five at my pro debut. Like, I was 13th out of 14 girls. I'm fourth at the Olympia. It's
Same. I was
okay."
12,
You know what I mean? Like,
12 out of
it
13.
takes time. And I honestly just think I've found a lot of joy in the fact that like I didn't have immediate success. Like it wasn't like an overnight sensation type of thing. Like I put my head down and I did the work. And like, I think in the long run, it becomes very beneficial to like your character and your heart and how you carry yourself in the sport of just truly just starting at the bottom and crawling your way up.
Hmm. Yeah.
Next
Who's
was
next after
Chrissy.
Sammy? Chrissy, another pro debut. Abby, did you watch her routine?
Yeah, I loved Christy's routine. It's very high energy, a great skill set. I think she executed it very cleanly. Yeah, I feel like it's like your typical like fitness routine, especially if you think like how fitness was initially. There was no themes initially.
Hmm.
There wasn't any of this. It was just high energy, big smiles, connect with the crowd, high like fast-paced music. And honestly, the music really makes a difference too. When you have music that's a little
Hmm.
bit of energy, that really affects your routine and how it looks on stage, matching the skills to the high energy music, that sort
Hmm.
of thing. So I thought she had a really great all around pro debut routine, high energy, good skills,
Was
clean.
it different than do you know if it was different than what she did at the Arnold or was it the same routine?
Was it the same?
It was the same with like, small changes, but it was her same Arnold routine.
Okay.
Um,
'Cause I remember like I
same.
didn't see the
Oh, go
routine
ahead.
that she did at Adela, but at the Arnold, I will say it's been a long time since I've been like initially impressed with like, an amateur routine like that. I felt like, it's right there, like it could cross that threshold, like she could put that same routine on
Hmm.
the pro stage. So just based on what I saw at the Arnold earlier this year, I remember watching it and being like, oh, this is a decent routine. Like,
Hmm.
this has a lot of potential. And like I was super happy that she was able to petition and get her, pro card. Just since there wasn't five girls at the Arnold Amateur and that she's someone who petitioned and then also did just turn around and hop on stage. I think some girls have gotten a little bit intimidated to cross that threshold when they're looking at the echelon, the pinnacle of our sport and they're thinking that they have to look like Missy, me, Tam, Shelly, and that's not
Right.
necessarily where you need to be in order to do well, especially at a qualifying show. So a lot of props to her for just, showing up, getting her pro card, petitioning, doing the work, and then hopping on stage. Because that's what we need.
Yeah. Um, I agree. Like I remember watching her Arnold routine, I was like, oh, this is pretty good because like same thing you said, it's usually like those pro routines that earn people pro. Obviously, they're great for amateurs, but there's very few of them that you're like, yes, that you can put that routine on a pro and still expect some level of success. I did think she had a lot of the mains and the good bones for to, she take that routine and just elevate it in certain points to make it a priority. I know her coach is Ashley now. Her coach is a fitness pro, kind of turned bikini pro. She hurt her knee, but her coach is a former, I should say, fitness pro. So I'm actually not surprised that she had a routine like that. It mimics her coach's style very similarly. She had a couple mistakes, like everything's clean that landed, but there were a couple of mistakes. So I think she was probably going to be a little bit of bottom half just because I feel like everyone was executing really well. Again, when we're at this high level, if you have two or three mistakes, like noticeable mistakes, that's going to impact you. But she, like I said, I think is in a good starting point. She's in off season. I've been impressed since I started for the Arnold. She is currently taking some off, so I hope just during the time off, however long it takes, she was just fine. Maybe, some of the advice that Tangi gave me that I might apply to her too is just like find one or two big skills like that can a response from crowd from, and like focus on those. Don't do every skill, right? So I think she has a lot of really good mid levels. I think she probably needs to work on in her improvement season is finding one or two things that people are going to be like, wow, that part of her team. So like that unmeasurable one skill. Because like I said, I think all of her skills were pretty good, but I don't think there was anything in her team that I was like, oh wow, that was what I mean. So I feel like that would be my one feedback for her is just like finding one or two things to improve like the difficulty on, I guess.
Yeah, because when you have like a strong lineup of routines like that, you need something in your routine that like catches the judges and something that is memorable so that they remember the routine. Obviously, the whole performance as a whole is important, but sometimes there's like that differentiating factor that it might need to come down to.
Yeah. And same thing, like we said it kind of last week too. Like sometimes it's the opposite. Like they'll say increased difficulty, and sometimes that's construed as more skills versus like actually showing a progression in a skill. I think that's even like my main feedback from Olympia is level of difficulty. It's, it used to be your performance, and now I'm tapping in, I'm at a different level with myself now where I'm just like, okay, I need to show progressions of my current skills, like because I want to stay in the realm of what's true to myself and what I can perform versus like tapping into someone else's energy. Like I'm not going to ever be a handstand queen. That's not in my repertoire, but I'm learning how to incorporate them in a way that's fun and fast, because that's my style.
Right.
So I think it's just finding those progressions of maybe things she's already doing that feel true to herself so that she can turn around and sell it. Next was Amber. Amber's routine I did see. And I think
the champion.
Yes, I mentioned this last week where I'm not sure what she changed in between Legion and Adela, but it was the performance of, in the sense of like, she was really performing at Adela versus at a Legion. I was like, I just did it. It fell a little flat for me. And when I was watching Legion, I just was looking at some of her combinations and I was like, it felt like really long periods without eye contact, but I couldn't turn around and compare it to what she did at Adela and be like, oh, she did less skills or she changed the combinations. I don't think she changed that much. I'm not sure what she changed, but it was like I couldn't even pinpoint it because it was so minute, but it made such a big difference in her performance. And I know she's also like, she's from Austin. She had family there. It makes it fun to perform. But just watching that quick turnaround time, it was just like watching someone in practice versus like watching like them perform. And that was the biggest thing, the biggest difference that I saw watching Amber.
Yeah, I agree. You could definitely see she was in her element. And even when she walked off stage, like you could see she was happy with her performance. Like she nailed it. Everything was cleanly executed. She's somebody who like does piece a lot of skills like quickly together, but she does it in a way that's executed really well when she does execute well. And in this performance, I feel like she was on. She was on point. She hit everything. She made that eye contact. She kept the audience involved. And yeah, it was just really high energy and it stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely. Yes, I think that's one thing that we can on from Amber is that she's going to have a clean sheet. So she had that already, but I definitely think in her hometown, with a crowd that was already amazing, but like had her crowd. So I like, yeah, we could just tell the difference between that type of performance where you really are just having fun compared to Legion, where it's like, yeah, we all like have fun, we perform, but I just feel like it was a different intangible. But I also think there was like a little bit of that vengeance energy, right? I love comeback story. Like now, obviously, I lost the show because of that comeback energy, but I love a comeback story. I love a vengeance routine. So I feel like there's a little bit of that, like I'm coming for my win, like that kind of energy, but also the yes, my people, and I want to have fun in front of my people, and I just feel it's a perfect for her. And like you said, Abby, I think she was on. I think she had the type of performance. So you get off stage and you're just like, that was the one, you know, or even sometimes in practice you do it and you're like, man, I hope that's the one I can put on stage. I feel like she just had them, the right performance, the right time. And like you said, I think it was just good execution as always, but just that one set better condition, energy, and performance that got her from what she got at least fourth.
Yeah.
Did she get fourth in routine at Legion?
Oh, I do not know.
Or did she get fifth in routine?
I think it was fifth because
I don't know what she. Yes, so she got fifth in routine at Legion, which got her a place finish, and then second in routine here, but not unanimous. You know, almost first, which got her a win. So I feel like it was a storm for two. Just like she was on, and it worked out obviously in her favor. I think it was a good win. So we'll see if she does the same one. She's now done twice, 3 times. She knows Legion, now Adela, so she does the same one or different one for the Olympia. But like I mean, obviously been offering like a little feedback or we expect from people. I think for the Olympiad, we can probably expect very similar big energy from her. Looking forward to seeing, probably for her, it's going to be more difficulty in her routine. She already does a pretty difficult routine, but all this between now and the Olympia, she's already at high execution. I mean, at this point, she probably has some time to add some difficulty. So I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, what she does there.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we just see a completely different routine.
I feel like she probably will do a different routine. Um, but you know, rocking with similar skills, just different music, different routine, different costume, all that stuff.
Next was Courtney Stice. I did not see
Courtney,
that was routine. I mean, but I saw Legions, obviously. I'm interested just to kind of gauge. You guys were both at Legion, both at Adela. If there was any changes in the costume and the execution.
She toned it down.
The costume was a little bit, yeah. The costume was a little bit different. She like cut the jacket in half, or it was like at Legion, it was like a full trench coat, like all the way down. Adela, it was more of like a roppy situation, but it was still a lot in my opinion.
Like,
I think she also, yeah, all the above. Am I crazy? She didn't do that on her face.
She did
Am
the
I
face
crazy?
for Legions, but not Adela's because I
Okay.
think the judges.
No, okay, I was like, wait, I think so.
The feedback she got from
Okay,
Legions
I was like, wait a
you
minute.
need to tone it down and like not as much.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't remember off the top of my head because I only watched it like live. I haven't watched it playback, so I can't necessarily remember everything. But I do feel like she did change a little bit of the choreography, like the actual choreography, necessarily skills, just to make it again a little bit more fun and like entertaining to watch, not just like skill after skill after skill after skill, because like, that was also part of her feedback. Is like it was a lot. It was too, yes, it was just too much. So I feel like there were pieces that I watched that I'm like, oh, that dance choreography wasn't there before, or this part wasn't before. So I do think that she tried to add a bit more of that performance factor. And so I think her routine was better. I mean, similar to what we said. I mean, obviously, Courtney's not a pro debut, but you know, for the purposes of fitness, she kind of still is. I think she just needs more stage time and just kind of like work her way through those. She's a researcher. She's like me. She like dives deep into, okay, I've watched this video, I've watched that video. You know, she's like me. I'm a spread girl. I'm running scorecards. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing side by side, which I love, obviously, because that's how I am. However, I think that a lot of things just fire experience. And so I think that's going to be the main thing for her because she's like writing lists of skills down and what's the level of, you know, very gymnastics, right? Gymnastics has very specific skill is worth this amount of points. This is it. All this, I think, just coming that mindset. She's very like on paper, I should be getting this type of ranking or whatever. And I think getting more experience and seeing what works, and realizing that these just don't necessarily always know exactly the depths of how hard things are. Because quickly going back to me, that was one thing. It's like I felt like she was like really, really good because I knew how hard the skills were.
Yep.
So I think the thing, Courtney, is just going to be figuring out the sweet spot of high level difficulty skills, but also things that you don't necessarily need to have to make your routine better. Just make it more cohesive, more comfortable on age. Because again, another one has such a high level difficulty of skills, but it's not a skills competition. It's a whole fitness performance. So I think fine tuning and figuring out what is her sweet spot between level of difficulty and kind of transition and performance and all that stuff.
I agree. I think she has all the ingredients to be a great fitness competitor, but it's just finding that right recipe and just that sequence to put the skills in a routine that's engaging and entertaining and that connects with the audience and that sort of thing. And maybe, yeah, again, not putting too much into the routine, which that's always my issue as well. You always want to because you're like, but it's harder. But to the audience, again, like they don't understand difficulty. And so at the end of the day, it's what routine captivates you the most and it still has that difficulty, but the execution and the eye contact and the whole performance as a whole. So
Yeah, I think still she could probably, if she wanted to compete this routine again, probably just work on some of the cohesiveness and still dial back the costume a little bit more. I know she's doing like a Mad Hatter theme, and I'm not a theme girl. Themes have never been my thing. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. Most of the time they fall flat for me because they're not universal.
Mhm.
Um, but there's still times where I watch routines and I'm like, oh, this is a great performance. Like I can really enjoy this. But like I brought it up last week with Andrea of just the sense of like when you do themes, they have to be very universal and transferable to where when people don't know what your theme is, they can still understand their performance.
Yeah.
So it's finding that balancing act of okay, like I'm gonna do a Game of Thrones routine. I think Ellie did one last year or the year before, and she had gotten some feedback about this turtle shell prop. And I told her straight up, I was like, I've never seen Game of Thrones. I have no idea what your prop is. So whatever prop you're using for your routine has to be universal for someone who's never seen Game of Thrones. Because a judge, you can't assume that they have seen it and that they're going to understand it. So you have to approach themes from that perspective of, will this still translate to someone who has never seen it?
I agree.
Yeah. And I think one way that I like to approach themes is not necessarily unless it's something, who does a really good job of theme, Anna. Anna always picks, you know, wood juice, jam, power rings. Like these are really things that I think
Broad themes.
pretty much everyone, yes, right? But I also like to do themes like not necessarily themes as in pictures and movies, things like that, but themes as like themes throughout your music. So like I'm sure most people probably didn't even notice or care like about my theme last year, but my like, okay, this is my chant theme. And all of my songs were like about being amphibian. So it's like kind of these subtle background themes of like this is the feeling that I want you
The
to
vibe.
get from my performance.
Mhm.
Right. But it's not actually, okay, I'm not picking a movie or I'm not picking like a show or a character. I'm just picking like literally like the linguistic term of it. Like what is you know what I mean? I think those tend to work better. But it doesn't mean that I can be done. But yeah, you do have to pretty confident that it's gonna land with a very broad crowd because you want to connect with it yourself, but ultimately, you have to the balance of what is something, and we've talked about this before, what is something that I connect really well with, I connect with because I want to perform in a sincere manner. But also, it's not just about if I get it. Like, the whole one has to get it. Like, my bender routine, I loved my music, but I was like, this is not it. Perhaps this is not the vibe. It wasn't, it translate, right? So I think just finding something that works well for you, but also is something that the crowd connect to as well.
Yeah. Okay. Last up was Annalise.
Annalise, yes.
Do you want to
I think
start,
I
Abby?
love it.
Yeah, Claire, I loved her routine. I think she's got great skill set. She's got some wicked skills in her routine. She connects them well. I missed it at Legion's, but I did see it at Adela's. And yeah, maybe the theme, maybe not everyone would get, but you still enjoy the routine, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Like you
Mhm.
could, like it's still a great routine. And I think just maybe her just being having some time off and then coming back, it's just getting more into that element, getting connection with the crowd a little bit more. But her skill difficulty is great. I know she does a lot of like tumbling and that sort of thing, so maybe just some more
Mhm.
strength. but she's got some skills that some girls don't do, so it stands out.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. It's like she has the nice combination across the board of like skill set of like just enough of everything to keep it interesting. She moves at a good pace. I didn't get to see her routine at Adela, but assume it's the same as Legion and same that she'll
Hmm.
do coming up here. That one is a prime example of something that like it's a theme, but it's very transferable. If you don't watch, if you've never seen The Matrix, like you can still kind of be like, oh, this is like it's
Yeah.
not so into the theme that it doesn't translate.
Hmm.
I want to say it was 2023 last time she competed. So I think each time she gets on stage this year, it's just going to get a little bit better. I can't imagine what it would be like to take, basically 2 years off from stage and come
Yeah.
back. So I think I'm just happy to see her, back up on stage. The fact that like there was a cluster of shows for her to be able to come over from Australia to be able to do them and just like kind of cluster them together. And I know she's been able to, connect with some of the fitness girls and stay with them and just help out with some of those logistics, which I just am so happy for her to be able to come over and be able to compete.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I said at Legion, I loved her. I mean, I haven't seen Matrix in a decade. It's not like I was immediately like, oh, The Matrix. I love this movie. Like, I didn't connect with like that, but I just feel like that was like a perfect thing for her and kind of her vibe is like. Um, yeah, I think she's gonna get more confident, more dynamic. That's what I think. I know dynamic is a weird word. What does that even mean? But I think similar to what about Anya before is like kind of lacking a little bit of command. I feel like her routine is good, but I almost feel like maybe around halfway or towards the end, it's kind of just starts getting into watching her do skills versus feeling a perform. I don't know. I at the very beginning of it, I'm like really doing like, okay, this is what I do, and she does this part, and she does it telling, so she's like, this is a big salute, and it's like it just kind of slows down a little bit on the performance aspect. So that's the part I think it got a little bit better from Regent Stella, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing it get again a little better from Adela to Alabama. Like you said, I just like we've been saying, just time stage, she's rusty a little bit. These two shows she's done a little bit better, so I still continue to do better. I mean, when she was competing a couple of years ago, she was king, so I know that she has the potential to have a high ranked routine. I mean, she's a lot better from leading to us. So maybe for Alabama, where we're seeing several compete against each other again.
Mhm.
I just really excited.
Really excited.
So, just quickly, our top five for the show was Amber Steffen first, Andrea Glass came in second, Anya was third, Abby was fourth, and Annalise took home fifth. Um, you know, Obviously I didn't get to watch in real time, but just from what I'm pieced together, there was no real surprises for me in the top five. Like, I honestly,
Mhm.
these would have been like, if I had to pick a top five ahead of time, it would have been these five people, just based on experience and stage time and, what I had seen the previous week. And I think same thing, like it's almost just like with any of these routines, like you could make a case for first on a lot of them. It's just, going to come down to preference with judging panels. And then, I didn't hear of any like
Mhm.
major mistakes in that sense, but yeah, so Amber is the next name that was added to our Olympia qualified list. And then both of you were obviously there real time. So for you, were there any like
Hmm.
surprises, like while you're standing on stage? Like, did they pull out the top five or did they pull out all eight?
They brought everyone out, and
All
then
eight were on stage. Hmm.
And then they
I'm
went,
not gonna lie, I was surprised to rank because I'm telling you, my mind, I like that routine wild. And I'm telling you, like you said, Abby, I was in Sammy and I was like, did Sammy just beat? Like, I really honestly thought again it was maybe a hair tactic, but I didn't necessarily think of who wouldn't be in the top. But I kind of expected Sammy to be in the top after watching her routine.
same.
Again, was watching the side. I also like in mind about how I just so maybe I maybe elated a little bit how I think it did. But like I said, her those were so difficult that I think that's all that I saw was like,
Yeah,
wow,
he
there's a
kind of
lot
took
of
a step
difficult
back.
skills. Yeah. Honestly, as far as dictions, I think went pretty much the top five was the same top five and could have gone in, like you said, Allison pretty much make a case for a lot of different orders in that top five because obviously Eddie is good and everybody had good performance. So no surprises here. I think, as they started checking off names, like, okay, these are the next couple of names that I think they'll say. And, I think it went pretty much as close to, I feel like it was pretty much pretty easy to predict
Mhm.
at least who would be there, maybe not necessarily every single order.
"Hmm, cool. well. I know we wanted to just go ahead and do a recap of the 2025 Fitness Olympia qualified athletes. So I just have it pulled up here. Allison Kramer, me, number first on the list. I won Legions last year, so we're gonna have two Legion
No.
champions. Missy, obviously, she has announced that she will be switching to figure. I know she's gonna be gearing up for a Mississippi show. I believe it's like just under 10 weeks or so. Jacqueline
Yeah.
Baker, Taylor Learmont, Tamara Vaughn, Jessica Zur, Andrea Glass, and Amber Steffen. So I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 8 on the list, but Missy obviously has, exited the division. So right now we have 7 girls that will be qualified. I know there's still going to be quite a handful more shows to add to the list. There may be some girls competing. So we might not have additional names added. But I still think that we'll get to that, 10 to 12-ish mark for girls at the Olympia.
Yeah, I don't think anyone that's competing Alabama already qualified. So we'll definitely get one for Alabama. And then obviously we'll see for the next shows coming up. But we're definitely going to add one weekend because nobody that's competing at Alabama is qualified yet. So
that does make it exciting.
Yeah. Well, good luck, Abby.
Abby will be one of those. I think it's 10 on the list, which was good to see,
Yeah.
9 at Legion, 8 at Adela. I'm really hopeful that the shows, the list will stay around this 8 to 10 mark. I think 10 is an ideal number, especially with just trying to get exposure on our division. I know last year there was a few shows where there was only a handful of girls. So I just think until we can get across the board, 10 girls at every show, we should stop trying to get additional shows when we're not showing up to the shows that we do have. And just continue, to show up and represent fitness. And, we're trying to do our part with covering, doing some coverage on the division here. But I'm super excited for this year and just to kind of see who else gets added to this list. It is exciting. I'm very excited for this year's Olympia.
Yeah, we're so excited. Thank you guys for watching. Dr. Abby, thank you for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Abby.
We will put all of our Instagram handles on. I'll put on this and in the description if you want to follow up. We will be back again next week to wrap up Body B1. So until then, please share this podcast, all of your friends, all your current, past, and future aspiring fitness competitor. Again, because we're trying to grow this vision, add exposure, visibility, education. So yeah, share, comment, all the stuff they say on YouTube. And we will see next time.
Comment, subscribe.
All the good stuff. We will see you next time on Fitness, the final cookout.